Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hello, everybody. What's happening? Happy Monday or happy day whenever you're watching this. So today I'm flying solo. Just figured I'd pop on and get a podcast recorded here. So the topic today is breaking out of the norm, which I know quite a bit about. I've kind of ended up doing that my entire life, not always intentionally, and it was interesting as I got older, as I woke up spiritually, I'll often look back on periods of my life to understand them better. And you can really get some clarity. So like, I remember as a young kid, I was, I felt like I never fit in. And it was hard, man. It was weird because like, I kind of, it was more than not feeling like I fit in. It's like just the way my mind worked. And I guess, looking at it in hindsight, it's like understanding that everything has energy and understanding that kids are very connected to their feelings. Like they can feel energy. They can feel, I think this is what we're getting back to anyway. So a lot of people are getting heightened sensitivities and they're able to feel things better because that's the direction that we're going in this spiritual shift that's happening. And kids are very much like that anyway. They don't have all the social conditioning that's weighing them down, so they feel things more and they're more connected with their truth. And the kids nowadays are mind blowing, but even, my generation back then, it's just like I just couldn't drink the Kool-Aid, man. It just didn't make sense to me. I wanted to drink the Kool-Aid. I wanted to be like everybody else. I didn't want to go through every day struggling against society, struggling against people. I couldn't buy into it. It felt wrong. And like I was too connected to my feelings to just override that. So it was, there were like, I came from such a, I don't know, normal, good, healthy family. I've often wondered, why I suffered and struggled so much. Like at first, when I first got sober, I was like, I must be the weakest person on the planet. I can't even handle a functional family because I came from a good family. And, as I get older and learn more, all of a sudden I look at it and I go, okay, it was just me kind of against society. And so it didn't really have anything to do with my family. It had to do with the world. I wasn't resisting my family. I was resisting the world, the way when adults said stuff and like, respect me as I crap on you. I was like, nah, I don't understand this. That like adults don't value my opinion, don't care what I think, don't care what I feel, don't care about my side of the story. I'm just supposed to shut up and do what I'm told. Like that just never made sense to me. And I couldn't just say, oh, okay, I'll buy into it. Like I just couldn't. So I struggled against society so much and all their structured ways of being, and who was I? Like, I didn't understand. I knew that what they were saying was wrong. A part of me knew that, so I couldn't buy in. But I was a kid. I didn't know what was right. Like, I didn't know. Like, the whole world was functioning in a particular way that I couldn't function like. So I couldn't figure out how to live my own life and be true to myself and fit into society. Like, I couldn't figure it out. And so I just rebelled against society and suffered and struggled, and then when I got sober and woke up spiritually, then all of a sudden stuff started making sense. I'm like, and I would flash back to my childhood, or even when I was like 18, 19, 20, where I did another kind of a rebellious stance around that age. Because like now I was an adult, I was out on my own at 18 working and had my own apartment. And it was like, so, I kind of got a whole nother up level into interacting with society and its rules. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it then either. So I had to pick a side, like, am I going to cave in and do what everybody tells me, or am I going to stay rebelling against it? And I decided to stay rebelling against it. And, I had more of a intellectual screw society mentality. It was even more rebellious. When I was a kid, I was just meandering around, not, I was rebellious, but it was more like I was just curious and just wanted to do things my way and stuff like that. Like, when I got older, it became more anger driven. It was more of like a fight between me and society, which, it was the same kind of thing, but it made it even worse. So when I look back on that, now I'm spiritually awake, and I look back on that and I go, oh my God, okay, cool. I get it. I was right. I was right. Like, society is messed up. And I shouldn't be living by society's rules because it's messed up. It's like, okay, cool. But then I was like, okay, well, does that mean I have to rebel against society? It's like, no, I don't have to rebel against. I'm just going to choose my own path, and I'm just going to be true to myself, and I'll just live that way. And that's basically what I've done. It's not a fight. I'm not fighting against society, because we're not going to win that fight. Like that, you can't fight for peace. If I want peace in my heart, I can't go fight somebody for it. That's anger. That's like, anger doesn't magically turn into peace somehow, So what I had to do was just live my own life and understand that there's the middle way. There's not the society's way and then screw society's way. There's society's way, screw society's way, and then there's a middle ground where I don't have to fight against anybody. I can just make my own choices and do what's right for me. And that's really what I want to talk about today, because that is where we're going. This is, I've been there for years, but that society is going in that direction. We are seeing that society doesn't work. Like, basically, if you take a preconditioned societal belief system and rip it apart, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Like, most people previous, especially my generation before it started, my generation, the generation after, they're still in it. It takes generations to shift things. But like, basically our model for quite a while now has been, you go to school, you learn a bunch of stuff that you're never going to use in your life, most of it. And then you go to college and you get a college education. Then you can make good money. And then you'll have a house and 2 cars in the driveway. You'll pick up a wife along the way, or a husband. You guys can have some kids. And then that's life. You guys are going to be happy. And we're finding out, more and more people are finding out that that's just not true. It's not. It has nothing to do with happiness. You can achieve all those things, like, but it doesn't it doesn't bring happiness. Like it's not the point of life. So doing external things does not breed happiness. There are plenty of people that make really good money and are miserable. They hate their lives. Why? Because what they did everything society told them to do to have a successful life. And they did. And it doesn't, and even that, even like having the things, it doesn't even work for a lot of people because the model isn't true. You know, the model, if you go to school and do really good and get good grades, and then you go to a college, may it be a big one or a small one, I don't care, pick your preconceived social conditioning ideal, and go to college and then get a good education and then get a job, it does not mean that you're going to be financially stable. Even it doesn't even mean that. It doesn't even mean you can get a job doing what you want to do. It does. So like, it doesn't mean, it doesn't guarantee you what it's perceived to guarantee you, even on a financial level, even in a career level, let alone in a happiness level. It doesn't even scratch it on a happiness level. So that's just one social conditioning that, you know, that I was taught to believe, and many people are taught to believe, that is simply false. It's not true, you know, and everything is like that. You know, if you listen to your boss and do what your boss says, then everything will be cool. Nope. Not true. Not true. Most people have major problems with their boss. And the people in charge, as long as they believe they're in charge, they just keep getting more and more, because it's, you know, it's a perceived business. You know, fortunately, businesses are heading in the direction of social responsibility at this point, simply because they have to. They have no choice, because they're addicted to more. I mean, some do it for the right reasons. A lot of the big ones that you see doing it are not doing it for the right reasons. And I don't really care why they're doing it. I just like the fact that they're getting more socially responsible. The ones that are doing it for the wrong reasons, they might eventually start doing it for the right reasons. They might actually start caring about other people, maybe, and even being willing to dip into their profits. Right now, the ones that are doing it for the wrong reasons is because they see through statistics that it is the only way to raise their profits more, and they're addicted to more. So they're like, okay, people, you know, we have minimized the wage that we pay people. We have maximized what the CEO is making. We have maximized profits to our shareholders, so they're happy. But they're only happy this week. They're not going to be happy next week unless we make them more money. So how can we make them more money? Well, people are getting socially responsible. And some people just like the idea of shopping at some place that is perceived as socially responsible. So they're like, oh, we can make more profits if we have a good reputation. Okay, let's start donating to charities. Let's start doing all this stuff so we can have a good reputation, so we can make more money. So people think we care when we don't. So some are doing it that way. And some of that, you know, like I said, they might change into doing it for the right reasons, or, you know, eventually they'll probably fold. Whatever. I don't care how big they are. It's like you can't go against nature's laws forever and expect there not to be a crash. It's going to crash. It just will. We've seen this throughout human history. You know, this is why we are at where we are at, is because if you look in the last 100,000 years and you had civilizations go up, they're all basically built on the same model, funnel upward, right? And then they take everything from everybody. They strip their freedoms, they strip their money, they strip their education, control all of it. And then eventually they don't know how to stop, because all they know is more. That's just the energy that they're in. So then eventually the people at the bottom really have no reason to listen to them anymore. They don't have any food. They don't have shelter. They don't have education. They don't have their basic needs met. So after a while, they just go, no. And sometimes that looks violent, with a rebellion, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it's going to look real violent at this stage, because you kind of can't. Like, we're in a global society now. So it's not just your government. It's the governments that they're connected with, So it's not just the United States that you would need to overthrow. I mean, maybe originally you might need to overthrow them, but then even if you did overthrow the United States government, then you'd have other countries go, oh my God, the people just overthrew the government. Like, they don't have anybody to defend them right now. They're in a change period. Let's go over there and take them over. Right. So we're in a global society now. So we have the shift that we're in is global, and it's not through violence. Like I said, you can't fight for peace. So it's going to be more along the lines of Gandhi's movement, where it was just passive resistance. No, just no. And we've already started doing it. This is why people aren't working. Why? Because you cannot. Most people, I mean, my son was working a job for 3 or 4 years, working hard, busting his ass. And he got to a point where he was making $25 an hour. You can't live on your own for $25 an hour. You can't have an apartment and a car payment and food. You can't do it. Like, so why? You're like, what? There's no, that's what's shifting right now. That's the space that we're in right now. Before, if you busted your ass, you could rationalize how you were going to get somewhere somehow. Like, well, at least I have a roof over my head. At least I can feed my kids. At least I can live a normal life. No, you can't. In today's day and age, you can't. You can't raise a family. You can't, which is a natural human instinct for many people, right? And so, like, we can't even perpetuate our species anymore because we can't feed our offspring in the richest country in the world. Are you kidding me? Like, it's ridiculous. So we've just gotten to the point where, just like every other civilization that was based on the same principles, which is upward movement, the power and the money goes up and screw the other people little by little. Now they're not even hiding it anymore. They're just like, well, they'll go on TV and say, I stand for this and I stand for that. And they say all these good things, but then they do the exact opposite of what they say. Like the next day. And they don't even make excuses for it anymore. It's hilarious. They're just like, what was the latest one I saw? Oh, the Democratic National Convention is like, like Biden goes on and says, we have to stand up for democracy. And then, like, right after that, they go, oh, we're not going to allow any debates with the president for the Democratic nomination for presidency to see who's going to run. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you say that you and your party stand for democracy, and then the next day you just strip the democracy out? You just go, well, no, you guys can't be exposed to other people that you might like better, because then it's going to be a big pain in the ass to get our candidate to be running for president, the one that we can control. Yeah, that one. Like, other people are starting to gain popularity. And if other people gain popularity, and then there's a movement, and then we got to fight against the movement. And so we get what we want, because we are getting what we want. And what we want is Biden, because we can control him. So that's what's going to happen. And we will shove it right in your face and just say, no. Yeah, but you've had debates in the past. Like, yeah, well, we're not doing it now. Didn't you just say you stood for democracy? Yes. How is that standing for democracy? I don't want to talk about it. They don't even hide this stuff, So like, and I mean, that's one example. The Republicans do. I don't give a crap what party you're in. I don't give a crap what country you're in. I don't give a crap who your candidate is. If you believe that they are capable of going into this system and creating change, I think that that's delusional. I mean, like Marianne Williamson, I love a lot of stuff she stands for, but I don't understand what she's doing in the system. You can't play their game by their rules that they can change any time and expect to make progress. And that's what she's doing. I just kind of made a little comment on one of her posts when she was talking about some stuff, because I was like, we're going to need leaders with good moral values, but I don't think we're going to be able to play by their system. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. This is just my perspective, but like, when she was vying for the Democratic nomination, and they just went, oh yeah, no debates. You don't even have a chance to put your face in front of the American people and let them hear what you have to say about things. We're not going to allow you to have that chance. Like this, they just changed the rules, So this is just, don't get too caught up on the topic or the example that I use, because there's hundreds of them, thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them. This is the way that things are right now. They are way up at the top of their pyramid scheme. Pyramid schemes don't get fixed. We don't go in when a pyramid scheme funnels all the money upward, it collapses. People don't go in down to the foundation and try to reorganize it and be like, hey, maybe if we funnel 92 cents of every dollar instead of $1 of every dollar, maybe then the people will be happy and we can keep this pyramid scheme going on for another 20 years. Or maybe we could donate like 4% of our proceeds over to homeless people. And then maybe we can, it's not about fixing the system. The system is foundationally broken because it's based on greed. It just is. So, and we are, this is the first time, like I was saying before, we're in it's a global society we're in at this point. So globally, this is all happening to people all over the world and their governments, and we're reaching these pinnacles, and the people at the top aren't even playing anymore. They're just like, we are in control. We're going to do whatever we say. And you people, sometimes you bitch and complain about it, but you end up doing it anyway. And we're kind of tired of your bitching and complaining and playing this game. So we're just going to tell you what to do. And we're just going to take things from you, and we're just going to funnel more money upward. And if you say anything, we're just going to tell you to go screw. Because we don't care. The jig is up. We know it, you know it, and we don't care. We won. This is how they perceive it, So now it's up to us to start breaking away from the norm, start living our lives the way we want to live lives. This is why the off-grid mentality is getting so large right now. The tiny home movement, all this type of stuff, because people are starting to find out, even people that are like getting close to retirement age, COVID is all pushing this. This is the beauty of it all. The worse they get, the ones at the top, the worse they treat us, the more people's minds start looking for other opportunities, other ways of doing things. And that's what I'm talking about. Breaking away from the norm. Start getting creative. Start looking for other ways to live based on what makes you happy, not what the norm is. So a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to work until I don't even know what age it is now, 72, 75, whatever, 67, I think it used to be. I'm going to work until I can retire And then, you know, I'm going to have my house that I worked for all this time, and then I'm going to retire and everything's going to be cool. And people are starting to go like, wait a minute. Okay. So, you know, I'm probably going to need like $1 million to live off of in the United States. And I have to scrape and claw. The housing market is so volatile. It scares the crap out of me. The banks are just stealing money, and then the government just bails them out. So I could lose my money just having it. Like, you can't trust the system anymore. It's happened too many times. So people are starting to go, wait a minute, you know, like if I have $500,000, man, I have 200,000, whatever, or I could sell my house right now and get 400 grand, and then get a partial retirement and move to a different country and live for pennies. I could live like a king for the rest of my years and retire early. And people are starting to go, oh, like, and people are doing this. I mean, I know it's not right for everyone. This is the whole point. Like, you know, hopefully you guys are figuring out, don't pay too much attention to what I say for the examples. I mentioned that earlier. Use your brain. Just because I say something, I'm trying to give examples so you become free thinkers and you start thinking outside the box and you start thinking of other ways. If you know, it's not to say like, I say, oh, well, you could have 500 grand and retire in another country. And they go, oh, well, I don't have 500 grand. So what the hell, man, I'm stuck. No, use your brain. Creatively think, find other ways, find ways that work for you. Start a side business online for $0. Doing something that you actually enjoy. Who knows what else? Downsize, you know, people are downsizing more. Like, downsize your house when you know, and maybe into a tiny home direction, maybe not, but you know, like what do you need 3 empty bedrooms for? Or even 2 empty bedrooms, you know, like, because so your kids can visit like once every 2 years and they can have separate rooms. Have them get a hotel. They're adults. You know? What I'm saying is think outside the box, man. This formula for life and retirement and stuff, it just doesn't work. It's not feasible. You know, it'll work for some. And if it works for you and you're in that situation, then cool. If what you're doing works for you, then do it. But if it's not working for you, start thinking outside the box. Start experimenting. You know, instead of going to, like, you know, I'm in the Dominican Republic. So instead of flying to, and this is only if you want to change your life. If you like your life and you want to fly over to the Dominican Republic and go to Punta Cana, to some beautiful resort and sit there on a beach drinking umbrella drinks all day for a week or two and go back to your life, cool. If that's what makes you happy, do it. But if you're looking for another way of life, instead of going to Punta Cana and sitting in a resort, you could spend half that amount of money. You could come over to a different place that has a merge of expats and locals, like, you know, my area in Cabarete in the North Coast has, and plenty of other places all around. And not just this country, many other countries, tons of people in Costa Rica. And these are, you know, my Dominican Republic is like an hour and 45-minute flight to Miami. I mean, I can get to Miami from here faster than I can go from Florida to Rhode Island. You know, so like a lot faster. But my point is go explore other countries, explore other ways of living, make that a vacation. You can still have downtime, you can still experience new things, you can still sit on the beach, but you could look around, man, you know, meet some different people, meet some different ways of living, talk to some people, see if you like it. Maybe you don't, then don't freaking move over here. But don't even come back for vacation, go somewhere else. You know, what I'm saying is think outside the box. Like, I lived my whole life in the United States up until 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. It was the first time I traveled internationally. And I know I'm not the only one. Now, granted, I was a drunk for 20 years, so I lost a lot of years of functional living and normal vacations that other people took. But even after that, I lived in Rhode Island for 14 years, so I would go down to Florida. Why? This is all I could afford. I thought, I could have come over to the Dominican Republic back then. It would have been about the same price, if I really searched plane tickets. I could have gotten over to the Dominican Republic for the same price I went to Florida. Now a lot of times I stayed with a friend, so I would have had to spend a little bit more for a place to stay, but it's cheap over here. You can get places on the beach or very close to it for, $50 a night. The reason I'm telling you this is to stretch your mind, man. I just watched a movie with some friends that had with a friend of mine that had a young child, and we watched, and it was these, I forgot the name of the movie, but it had these 3 impossible tasks that this kid had to perform throughout the movie. And it reminded me of Alice in Wonderland with the 6 impossible things before breakfast. So she had to expand her mind so she could fight the Jabberwocky at the end. And when I was at a retreat with Michael Bernard Beckwith, like 14 years ago or something, he talked about that, using that as an exercise in the morning to expand your mind. Come up with 6 impossible things before breakfast. So we need to expand our minds. We need to, and it can be anything. If you like herbs when you cook, look online. Like, you can get a thing that hangs on the back of a door that looks like a shoe holder where you can grow all different herbs out of. Like, the possibilities are endless nowadays. This is what I mean. Look into whatever you like. If you want to take up a hobby, take up a hobby. This does not have to be a particular social political movement that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just becoming more of you. Start thinking outside the box. Don't just do stuff because society, well, I have to get up and go to work, and then I come home and I have dinner, and then I sit in front of the TV, and then I take my sleeping pill and I go to bed, and then I wake up and I do it all over again. And then on the weekends, I go get drunk on Saturday night, and then I feel like crap and I lay on the couch Sunday, and then I get up and go to work Monday and do it all over again. Like, snap out of it, man. Live. When I'm coaching people, one of the things that blows their minds is when I tell them, when I look at the day, I go, how many hours do you work? 8. What's your commute? Usually 30 minutes or less, but I go, okay, let's give it an hour each way. So that's 10. Okay, you have to eat. Yeah, let's give that a couple more hours. 12. Okay, how many hours do you sleep? 8. Okay, that's 20. So there's 4 hours every day that you're not doing anything. What are you using to fill those 4 hours with? And sometimes I'll start with the basics. You sleep for 8, you work for 8. That's 16. You have 8 hours left. What are you doing with those 8 hours? And it blows people's minds when they go, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. Yeah, you have 8 hours every day that's unaccounted for. What are you doing to use it? And then if you start adding in travel time and meals, you can still end up with 4 hours. What are you doing with it? Do something that you enjoy. Make your life worth living. See, if you do stuff that makes your life worth living, like I did a post recently about this. so many people are depressed and anxiety ridden and are on medications for it. And if you look at their life, they're very similar to what I described. They don't do anything to produce serotonin in their body. Nothing brings them joy. So then they wonder why they're not joyful. It's because you're not doing anything that you like. That's why. So like, if you just, that's all it takes. You see, so like, if you're happier in your life, you're going to know that happiness is a possibility, and it can break you out of the mundane, monotonous BS that you're stuck in. And then all of a sudden your mind starts expanding and you go, what else could I do? Oh my God, I've always liked playing the guitar, but I don't do it much. Oh, you do it a little bit more. Then you get together with some friends, and then you go play a couple gigs every month, and you make a few bucks. And it's not, and then you have a savings account, and that money goes directly into that. Now all of a sudden you're building up money, and you're doing something that you enjoy, and you're producing serotonin in your body, and you're happier. And then all of a sudden you start thinking, oh my God, there's all kinds of possibilities. I can't believe that at 50 years old, I just started doing that. Wow. Oh my God. You start looking for other things to do. Why? Because it's a wave of energy. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. And this definitely is true with people too. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. If you are living a life that you enjoy, and you're bringing life into your life, you're bringing joy into your life, like, then all of a sudden, if you don't have it, you're like, well, this sucks. But if you don't have it for years and years and years and years, you just get complacent. You forgot that your life is even supposed to be happy. So just living your life in a happier way is going to start expanding your mind and start having you look into different directions and breaking outside the norm. And that's all we need to do. We just need to do it in our own way, individually. If we have a group of happy people, if we have a group of people that are not just living like robots the way society is telling you to live, and they're actually just happy living individually, they're not going to be able to control us, because they're going to be like, do this. We're like, nah, I don't want to. I like my life doing this. Thank you. And I bought into your way of life, and that I had to listen to everything that you said for so many years, and I was miserable. And I just started playing the damn guitar, and I'm enjoying it. And that was enough to open up my mind to understand that I don't need to do just some monotonous BS life, that there's actually joy out there. So now I'm looking for more. And it's not in your regulations. It's not in you stripping our freedoms. I'm going to go do it anyway. No. You know, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Put like 3 million people in jail for just living their lives, just not bowing down to them? They don't have the room. You know? So, you know, this is what I'm talking about. Break out of this conditioned thinking. And the age is another one that blows a lot of people's minds when you break it down. You know, I'm going to be 55 this year. So it's like, the way I look at it, it's like I'm middle-aged. Why? Well, because my grandmother lived to 96 or 97. So if her generation, 2 generations ago, living, you know, basically 100 years, they could hit 100 years. All of them? No. But some of them were hitting 100 years. They didn't have the technology that we had. They didn't have the knowledge that we had, that we have. They didn't have the, like, they weren't spiritually awakened. Which is more life force flowing through you. They didn't know that all the processed foods that they were being given were poison, and eating natural was better. They didn't know that, like, you know, they thought not washing, you know, hey, it was great that they don't have to wash their own clothes. They have a washing machine. They didn't equate that and go, okay, well, when I was a kid, you know, my my grandparents' generation, they walked everywhere. They had to probably had to wash your own clothes, no TVs, no telephone, when they were kids, like no cars. Now all of a sudden this stuff starts coming into play, and their life starts getting easier and easier and easier. And they didn't understand, like, oh my God, like if I don't use my body, it's probably going to start falling apart. We know that now. Why? Because their generation and the generation after them showed us that. That's why there's a gym on every corner. Why? Because we kind of need one, because life is too easy. That's why. We have to use our body in some way, to keep it healthy. So you put all this in mind, and I'm like, oh, I could definitely live to 100. I'm not saying that I could even live past them. Just to what people 2 generations ago were doing. I could probably do the same thing. I could probably do more, but I believe that realistically living to 100 is a realistic idea for me. So if I'm 55, we'll say 50, I have 45 more years. That's, like if you're 50, let's just make it easy. If you're 50 and it's feasible to live to 100, that means you have everything left that you've already experienced, right? Everything from the day you were born up until your 50th birthday, you have another block of that. Another whole block. And you don't have to spend 22 years of that learning how to walk, learning how to talk, going to school, going to college, learning all this stuff, figuring out all the adult stuff once you graduate college and you're out in life, and all of a sudden you find out that like to get car insurance, they want to charge you, $600 a month for car insurance because you're only 18. Like, all these adult learning things. I mean, by the time it probably takes you up until you're, I'd say 25 at least, just to get your head wrapped around stuff about adulting. And I'm talking about people like me that were off on their own when they were 18. People in college, it probably takes them till 30 just so they understand the dynamics of this dysfunctional world that we live in. Right? So if you're 0 to 50, half of that was just you learning stuff. 25 years of it was just you learning to try to figure out this warped world. So you've only had like 25 years of adulthood, 25 to 50. That's it. You have 2 more blocks of those left. 2 more 25-year blocks, 50 years. That's a lot of flipping time, man. So if you're around 50 or younger, or even 60 or 70, you're 70 years old, you have 30 years. Everything that happened to you from the day you were born up until the day you were 30, you have another block of that if you're 70. That's insane, man. That's tons of time. You can change your life. Can you imagine living the life of your dreams for the last 30 years? Because you found out you could? What a way to go, man. That's awesome. So this is what I mean. We have to start stretching our mind, expanding our mind, start finding ways of living outside the norm. Look into, I'm trying to think of the main bigger things, because I touched on the small little things. But those are so individual. It's up to you to find it, starting an online business, starting any business, make a product and sell it. You don't have to have a patent to make a product and sell it at local markets, which are getting bigger. Growing your own vegetables, sell those. Make a garden in your tiny little area. Like if you research how you can grow stuff, grow your own flowers and sell them on the side of the road or something. Like, I don't know, like figure it out. but just do what you want. Do what brings you joy. Bring what's going to make you happier, and possibly, if you need more income, include that in it, but think outside the box. And the big stuff, it could be, I don't know, man, maybe driving like a used car instead of a brand new car. That blew my mind when, like, in a DR, basically 90% of the cars you see are pieces of crap. I went over to Florida to take care of my son for a couple of weeks who was sick. And like, seriously, it was driving down the road and there was a traffic jam. And it was like, I don't know, maybe 5 miles worth of bumper to bumper traffic. And I was just looking at all the cars. I was with my parents. And I was like, oh my God, look at these cars. Like, every single one of them looks like it's brand new. Now, I know they're not brand new, all of them, but they have really nice paint jobs, really shiny, like no dents. Like, all of them look basically like they're brand new or very close to brand new. At least 98% of them. I could see 100 cars before I saw one with a dent in it. It's amazing the way, and like, this is part of the problem with society, is that we are just like the people in power. It's just more. I have I have a nice little house. Well, one time I had guests come over that wanted to stay over and I didn't have a room for them. So now that's reasoning enough. Hey, when you have guests, then you should have an extra room. Okay, we need a bigger house. I have a car. It broke down. Oh my God, we can't have cars break down. That's absurd. We must have a new car. Everything is just, like, everything has to be perfect. And that's so different over here in a DR. Like, it's just not like that. It's like, you understand that you don't have to live with everything perfect. Like, Faith, my dog, doesn't like to get she doesn't like change. A lot of dogs don't, it's me and her living up here. She likes it that way. When I was over in Florida, my friend was staying here. Well, they had to leave the dog in the house for a little while. The dog tore up because I was like, when I'm here, she doesn't usually do it, but she scratched the hell out of the door, tore the paint off and stuff. I haven't fixed it. Door looks horrible right now. It's okay. I'll get to it at some point. I never could have lived like that when I was in the United States. Oh my God, a scratched up door. We have to fix it. It has to look perfect. It has to. It's just, why? And we're so adapted to this way of thinking that everything has to be perfect all the time. There's a spot on your car seat. Oh my God. Well, I have to spend $200 on a steam cleaning freaking unit to get this little spot out of the car seat because there's a spot on my car seat. It's just this type of mentality. We have to stop. It's not important, man. Like, living a peaceful, happy life is important. We don't need everything to be perfect all the time. It's okay. This is what I mean by thinking outside the box and just relaxing a little bit and making happiness a priority, not a scratch door priority. So look into moving to other countries, look into visiting other countries. You don't have to decide to move, just visit them. Look into traveling in the United States if you live in the United States or whatever country you're in. Go to, start Googling, I can't think of the right keyword, but earth-friendly homes. Google them and then go see them for a trip and go, oh my God, I didn't know that you could build a house for $50,000 that I could live in for the rest of my life. That's earth friendly. That's so cool. I didn't even know I could do that. This is what I mean. This is the stuff we stumble across when we start looking into different options. Look into spiritual communities to live in, or anything. I don't know, man. Just look. Look into different ways of traveling, different ways of living, different ways of eating, different hobbies, different anything. Just look into it. Just start researching and get curious about life and start finding different ways. And if you don't like your life, man, there is so many possibilities and so many options all over the world right now. It's mind-boggling. And basically, intentional communities. I think that's something that some term they're using now. Intentional communities. And there's a bunch of them in the United States where like you can build some tiny little house and you work like 2 hours a day for 5 days a week to pitch into the community as your part. And then that's it. That's it. You can live there for free in your little house. Like it's just this type of thinking it's getting more and more common because it has to. The structure is falling apart. So we need to be responsible for our own lives. There isn't going to be a bunch of people telling you what to do much longer, because what they're telling you to do now is ridiculous. At some point, you just have to draw the line and go, okay, I can't listen to these people anymore. They don't have my best interest at heart. It's obvious. And I have to start living my life for me. What is important to me? Write it down. What would I like my life to live at? Do you know how many people, and I've heard say, and how many posts I see on social media of people saying, all I want is a simple life. All I want is a little cabin in the woods. It's all I want. You can have that. For the life that you are living in, whatever city you're living in, you can go to the middle of nowhere, use your brain. You got to figure out the right land to buy. But you can buy land in the United States dirt cheap and build a little house on there and live there. You can do it for what you have now. Especially the housing market, the way it is, you get these tiny little houses that are nothing that are selling for, $300,000. For $300,000, my God, you can buy a lot of land and have a house on it for $100,000, and you get $200,000 in the bank. This is what I'm talking about. Your dreams are possible. Why do you think living in a little cabin in the middle of nowhere is more expensive than living where you are now? It's not. It's not more expensive. It's less expensive. Living in a little simple cabin out in the woods is less expensive than living wherever you are now. So why do you think you can't have that? Why is that one of the most things that I see people yearning for and going, oh my God, if I could only? And it's like, what are you doing? Your house is worth $450,000. Your cars, like the amount of money you make is mind-boggling. And you think you can't have a dinky little house in the woods? Why? Why would you think that? Why? Because it doesn't suit the big picture. It does, because we're socially conditioned. That's why. And this is what I'm talking about. Break out of the social conditioning and you start seeing things. You go, oh my God, I could have a house in the middle of nowhere. I never really thought of it like that. Is that what you're going to do on your deathbed? You're going to lay there and you're going to go, I could have had everything that I wanted. I just didn't stop to think about it logically. My bad. Oh my God. That's like, maybe this is why I think this way. I'm not afraid of failure. Because I failed so many times in my life, I can't even count it. It's failure was my middle freaking name. I lived like a drunken jackass for 20 years and succeeded at anything. So like failure, what? Am I going to be broke and homeless again? Okay, well, I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I can handle it. So this is why I have no fear of failure, because I've failed so many times I can't count. So it's like, I know that I can fit into society enough to make a living somehow if I need to. So I just do whatever the hell I want. And then people go, oh my God, it must be nice. It's just a choice. There's nothing special about me. I just choose to do what I want. And you can too. You know, everything that's keeping you stuck is mental. It's just inside your head. It's because you're not thinking other things are possible and you're not looking into it. And I'm not saying go leap into some stupid stuff. I'm saying research it. We are in the information age. You can research anything. You can research lots of land in different places around your country. You can research different homes, and you like I was saying, you can find a way to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You just have to look for it. You can't sit at home and just go, well, nobody walked up with a blueprint and a map and a list of things that I need to do and all the ways I can do it. Nobody showed up with that. So I guess I'll just sit here and live a miserable life that I don't like. No, go out and create your blueprint. Go out and write your way of doing it. Find the way. It's enjoyable. It's exciting. It's fun. It's life. Do that. So I'm going to end with this. It was the quote that I had at on social media is this wolf, and it says something like the lion and tiger are more powerful than the wolf, but the wolf doesn't perform at the circus. We have to stop performing at the circus. You know, don't play by the games. Don't play their game by their rules. Make your own rules. It's your life. Choose the way you want to live it. All right. Thanks, peeps. Oops, what do I got to do? Hit that. All right. I'll talk with you soon. Later.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.